Hey, what's up, everybody? What's going on? Welcome to the Meeting of the Minds podcast tonight. It's me, IMC. We got Trini and Caroline. Hey, tonight's topic: Black parenting in America. Now we know with the increase of shootings of young black men, parents are now more inclined to teach their children how to react to police officers, especially when they're walking down the street or just when they're getting stopped by police. Now, as parents, what is your as a black parent, what is your greatest fear as your child is walking out the door to school, or what is your fear for them in the future? Trini, you wanna start?
Oh, for sure. So, where I'm really worried and concerned at is the fact that at some point, I know, like, you didn't even really have these conversations until they were teens, but now it's like the earlier, the better. At like the age of 7 or 8, you have to let these children know, hey, you are black boys. So that means the moment you leave this household, you are a target. And it's not even just in schools. It's you could be a target playground. You could be a target at a game store, candy store, anywhere where your skin looks like me and yours, you will be targeted. And that's the issue right now. Like it's really scary only because me being in the streets so long, I rarely ever go anywhere anymore. Cause unless I'm playing anywhere with my band, I don't go nowhere. So with that being said, I know the demographic of what goes on in the streets, especially where cops are concerned. And me living in Ohio now, I mean, CPD really has nothing on NYPD. You know what I mean? But it seems no matter where you go, you're just, I don't care how rich you are, I don't care what class you are always and forever will be seen as another one of them niggers. That's literally it. And if they can eliminate you down to your children, they will. So that's what's very concerning. And I know they're going to have questions like, but dad, why can't we play with XYZ people? And why are they treating us this way? And that's a conversation I'm not ready to have, but I know it has to be done for not just my safety, but theirs as well. So it's really tough. It's tough. It's sad it's gotta be this way. But biblically, it's all supposed to happen anyway, so it is what it is. I'm not happy with it. Like, I got a 2 year old and a soon to be 3 year old in just a couple of days, and they're getting to that age. They're maturing and they're getting tall, and yo, just little kids playing in somewhere like an apartment complex. The wrong Karen can come out and say, oh well, he pushed my child and this, that, and the third. Now she doesn't know that my firstborn was a preemie, so he's still slowly developing in how to be social with everybody because I've been keeping him sheltered for that very reason.
Right.
So when other people don't know what you're going through and what your struggles are, they're quick to just say, "Oh well, I just don't appreciate that. I'm gonna press charges. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that." And you're just like, "Bro, this is a whole child. It's not like the child was 7 and 8 to where they know what they're doing. Like, yo, chill out. They're not hearing that. They're not hearing that." And in a place where it's predominantly white, I don't. It's Columbus. Don't get me wrong. It's very well mixed, but it's still predominantly led by white folk. It's so scary, G. It's scary. And for a person that's been this, I guess you can say, gangster type, for me to actually say that is real. It's real. And yo, it's hot out here, and we really have to protect our, especially our black boys. We have to protect our black boys because it's already bad enough. Black men got a bad rap sheet, from the cheating to being baby dads, and it's crazy because none of these kids have guidance. Like, you want better men, but who's raising our boys to be men? I don't know. I yield. Caroline, take the floor.
Okay.
There is so much I don't think I had enough conversation or research, did enough research or had enough conversation with people prior to having my own children. Well, child and then one on the way. There's so much to consider. You have how we show up as Black people in the world, how you want your child. Sometimes for a lot of people for a lot of years, parenting Black children has basically been about survival.
Yep.
So normal things like playing outside, playing with water guns, BB guns, whatever. Small things that kids play with. Those privileges have not been, I say privileged because they have been accessed by everybody else besides children of color. Don't play over here, don't do this, don't do that. So like things for me, like, and I'm thinking about it now. Imagine growing up in New York, right? You got folk opening up the fire hydrant and doing all kind of whatever. I don't think I've ever played in an open fire hydrant because in my mind, that's not what it's used for. And I'm not trying to have nobody pull up on my fun. I know I've seen plenty of people playing in the fire hydrant, but in my head, it's like, if somebody pull up to this scene right here, I'm more afraid of my parent than I am of whoever coming. I would hate to report back to so-and-so that Caroline was outside when they weren't supposed to. And think about it, right? So, and even, so aside from the fire hydrant thing, I grew up jumping rope in the street, riding my bike outside, playing in people's yard. There's certain neighbors I had where I could just walk in their house. But that's because their family and my family grew up on the same block for years. Folk don't have that nowadays. And then the pandemic don't help because you have kids growing up that know how to wear shoes because they ain't been outside. All the doctors and everybody they meeting just by the eyes. But so, and even when you got the kids in school, right? So they out your house for a little bit. We start primary school, kindergarten, pre-K, daycare, whatever. Working in a Black daycare, it's like, it's real strict on don't do this, do that. And it's like limitation. You playing outside, y'all too loud, y'all this and it's always y'all too much or this and that, whatever. Basically trying to put them in the box to where they can assimilate in the world. But mind you work at a white school. Them kids is ripping and running. Their clothes is messed up every day. Susie be coming home with her pigtails crooked or not in pigtails at all. So just imagine that. Like imagine going to your white friend's house and the access they have to things versus you. It's normal at your house, but seeing it on someone else is very different. I don't know. But then there's also sometimes resources. So they probably have nannies or no one's questioning them being at the park by themselves for an extended period of time. But if you go to a park as a Black child, somebody's trying to figure out where's your mom, where's your dad, why you out here like this, why you dressed like this. Basically, I feel like we coming up and we're automatically seen as trouble. So parents are more concerned with preparing you for how the world views you versus giving you or allowing for you to have the full childhood experience. I've seen videos, Ryan mentioned that Karen term, drawn on the sidewalk with chalk. It was now for this comment, this point of view, it's inclusive, but I feel like the reaction would be different with a Black child. There's a woman, I don't know if they're neighbors in a house or an apartment, like a side by side, like a townhome with like a shared garage space. But a child, I'm assuming it's a girl, drew on the street. So you have the sidewalk, driveway, and then you have the gravel for the road to drive on. She drew like hopscotch and flowers, and she probably was out there for a little while. The lady took her hose and watered it all up. Now, as a parent, how you respond to that? You supposed to prepare you have fun, they said. Have fun with your child, make memories. But you do that, how? When you have other people just trying to be killjoys just because they can. Because society has empowered them to do so. Or like, you build up your child in a certain way at home, and they go to school, and then there's someone there who is prepared to like break them down. So you at the house, okay, you crying, you okay? What's wrong with you? All right, let's do this to alleviate your pain. Cool. Child stop crying, it's done. At school, they're like ignored, torn apart, put down, and the child come home different from how you sent them to school. So how do you cultivate and nurture your child in a world that does not want for them to prosper, succeed, right? Because as Black parents, you want for your child to, even us as millennials coming up, we're talking things like, you know, trauma from childhood, therapy and healing, etc., whatever. So in an effort to implement some of the tools that we've learned or gained through the years, we're passing it on to our children. But then the world does not want you to like be healthy. Like there are worlds where they want for Trini's boys to be just like what he used to be like. Because for them it continues the narrative of what Black boys are. Or like, you know, everybody's all cute on the internet when a Black boy is smiling and happy running around. Black boy joy until he gets older, and it's like, what you smiling about? Why are you so happy? What's wrong with you? Is that drugs? Or a little girl who's just coming up being free, you know, is she really free, or is it? There's some different dynamics, I think, to parenting Black children. Like you can do as best as you can as a parent in the home. And then the world just does whatever. This comment says, bring back the village. Community is not what it used to be. So now we are trying to build strength on smaller individuals. I completely agree with that. Completely 100%. But you know, for some people, I've heard people comment that their idea of what a village is versus what their village was as children is completely different. Village mindset for some people was, this person has all authority to physically discipline me. Whereas village for a lot of people our age that I've spoken to, they want this person, if you're part of my village, I should be able to put you down as an emergency contact. I should be able to ask you to watch my children, either give you money or give you food, and you're not exposing my child to anybody harmful. You have my child's best interest at heart. You pay attention.
Hello, Alfred. How are you, brother? We haven't.
He had made a comment on this is exactly why he's afraid to have children. I think that's what Ryan was talking about, the outside. I'm trying to put some respect on his name. When Trini was talking about raising his children in Ohio. But Ohio's a different, I don't know. There you go.
Yeah.
Because when my mother explained growing up in Trinidad, it was you get licks from the teacher for misbehaving, your neighbor found out you misbehaving, you get licks from them, then you get licks from your parents for misbehaving, for everybody knowing about it, and get licks from everybody else. So now you got to get licks for 3-4 reasons just because.
Sure, I remember when I used to go to Linden SDA for pre-K, I got licks from Miss Patterson, from Mrs. Brown, Sister Giles when she was the old principal. Like, bro, they were allowed to beat your ass in school. And once you let the parents know, if you didn't get embarrassed by everybody, if you didn't get embarrassed at the school, oh, best believe you going home to a whooping. And then the way how my mom is, she'll tell grandma who was the worst person to tell. Because if grandma knows about it, everybody gonna know about it. So, yeah. Like, I miss those days because it kept kids in check. So even if, well, this is my mama's house, so I can do what I want. No, it ain't going down. And you had to be inside before that the street light came on. And I don't even know about this. So I guess some places in the South, they have this sundown
Sundown
towns.
Yeah.
So with that being said, if the street lights were on and you were still caught outside, somebody was getting lynched or someone was getting kidnapped and brutally killed. So growing up, now that I'm grown now and I know what these things mean, the significance to being inside before that street light come on, it didn't really hit me until just recently. And I thank my parents every day because whether you're in the South, whether you're in Queens, Brooklyn, wherever, I was really out here wilding, son. I was really out here wilding and not knowing somebody really could have killed me. Someone really could have killed me. But thank God I had people on the block looking after me. I had Travis from across the street, Antonio's mom, Mark, Matthew, even friends from school. Like, I didn't know there was like a network of parents that literally were watching over other people's kids. We don't have that no more. You try to discipline somebody's child, now you got to deal with their whole family trying to come fight you. You can't say nothing about how short this person's skirt is because now it's sexualizing. And keep your eyes on yourself. Say to yourself, "This is my daughter. You can't tell my daughter what to do." It's nuts. It's haywire out there. It's not the same. It's so much worse.
But I feel like it's relationship based
Okay.
because you and I are friends, right?
Right.
I'm trying to be your wife friend because I think she's great. Right, cool. But because you had a relationship, you'll learn how the parent wants the children to be disciplined, how they want the children to be talked to, how you and your wife react to behaviors that your sons display. If you spend enough time around your children, if I spend enough time around your children, I'll know what's normal for them and what's not.
Fair enough.
But if you just off the rip, and this is just me, if you just off the rip see, Trini Jr. 1 or Trini Jr. 2 out in the street, you don't know them from Tom, Dick, or Harry, but you know. And strangers, there's a way that you can talk to people you don't know. But if I see your son out there fighting whoever, and I'm snatching him up and I'm treating him all kind, that's not a representation of how I want anyone, village, known or unknown, to treat my children.
You know what? Let me
If
say.
you see my son on the way to an interview and he not looking right, hey, my man. However, but like, people really out here do not have good intentions for people's children. Or people have ill will against you. Don't tell you that they have the ill will, but they'll treat your child with the ill intention.
That's a fact.
So somebody out here pretending to be your friend and they treat your child any kind of way. My husband and I, we don't let the baby go to whoever. Because we watch, we pay attention. Spirit of discernment has to be real heavy with your children. Because that's a gift that God gave to you. If you just letting them be exposed to whoever, the Lord finna come back and ask you, like, what did you do with the child, with the gift I gave to you? But it's quite broad as far as being a Black parent. There's so many things you have to consider while also wanting to maintain healthy growth all around and balance in your child. Because you can raise your child however you want to in your house, because it's your house. But then you also have to remember that your child has to encounter with the world. How do you want them to show up? How do you want them to present themselves? And like Ryan was just saying, it's becoming a whole lot more complicated, it seems, to even give your children basic, more realistic principles to follow. Because folk will tell you that, something's wrong with you. You're too conservative, Bible-based, something wrong with you. Just for giving your child morals and a basis to follow. And that's scary. We got kids out here dying because they're doing TikTok challenges.
Let me say one thing. I'm glad that you brought up behaviors, right? Because some people will think like, okay, we're friends, and believe that just because you're friends, okay, now I can discipline their child. No, you have to watch how I'll put this. You got to make sure that you're looking at the parenting style as well as the patterns, what the child likes versus what the child doesn't like. You know what I mean? And I also feel that you have to be careful in how you deal with things. I remember one day I was at church. There was a Bible Bowl event going on, and there was this kid that was wilding out. He was being rude. Now, this lady wasn't from my church, but she was visiting, and she held the man, the young boy. He couldn't have been no more than 10 years old. Held him up like this. And he's like, "Yo, man, yo, let me go." Like, cause he was acting up, but it's like, yo, that's not your responsibility. This is not back in the days where you could just go up to somebody's child and discipline them however. And I'm like, yo, first of all, this is not your church. Second, you're here for an event. Third, you don't know this kid. You don't know who his parent is or what power they have. They can come back after you. This is like 20, I wanted to say 2016. You have to be careful how you approach people's kids. If you don't have a relationship with them, more than likely they're not going to be comfortable with you or warm up to you. Another thing we have to be careful of is we got to be careful of the type of people that we have around our children, because there are so many child molesters and abusers and all these different things that you don't know. You know, it could be a family friend, it could be someone at church. It doesn't matter. We've heard so many stories of sexual abuse with kids, and this is something that it constantly happens and it gets swept under the rug. You know what I mean? And the other thing, when it comes to Black children, they deal with a lot of trauma, not just at home, but certain things that they see on the street. Seeing your friend getting shot by the police, or just negative interaction. You know what I mean? Like, for example, the whole thing with what was this young man's name in 2012 that got killed by Zimmerman?
George Floyd, I believe.
No, not George. No, 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 no. He was carrying the Arizona and Skittles. He was 17.
Oh, that's that Zimmerman joint. That was so long ago.
Yeah,
I,
and I'm trying to
I'm gonna look it up.
Trayvon, right?
Trayvon Martin.
Trayvon Martin. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That kid was just minding his business, coming from the store, and George Zimmerman decided, I'm just gonna roll up on this kid because I don't like how he looks. He's wearing a hoodie. He looks suspicious. But how many white kids do you see wear that same type of clothing and they don't get approached or attacked like that? People will use anything as an excuse. You know, sometimes even a case of mistaken identity. I remember back when I was in sixth grade, I watched a movie called Cornbread Earl and Me, and in the movie, right, you have this young man who is an amazing basketball player. He's about to go to college, and then at the same time in the movie, a woman gets raped. Right now, what happened was that the basketball player and the rapist were both wearing gray sweaters. The police didn't care. All they saw was, okay, that's the guy. So because I have on similar clothing, all of a sudden I'm a target, and then the basketball player gets killed. The other guy runs off, and they can't find him. And then after that, what is it? What is it that happened in the movie? After that, a riot started. You know what I mean? Like, imagine a case of mistaken identity, or you just being in your car and police roll up and they say like, "Yo, we heard that somebody in this area with dreadlocks and a red jacket just robbed the store up the street." Mind you, this guy has on a green T-shirt, right? Green T-shirt. He's in his car, and police are trying to drag him out, and he's trying to tell police like, "Listen, I've been driving like you." And then after that, they want to grab the man out of his car, and he's like, "Yo, I know my rights." Like, it always seems, no matter what, we are always a target. It doesn't matter where we go. You could smile, you could laugh, somebody will still have a problem with it, you know. But I want to get back to the discussion of kids, so I'm gonna let Trini take over.
Man, look. I forgot what the saying was. I think it's whatever. I totally forgot about the joint, but I think it's really important that everything that happens to our children, it literally starts at home. You have to start at home because they're not going to go out into this world and perform and do their due diligence if you don't correct them at home. Now, it has a crazy part. Even if you do all the right things, they are still going to be looked at as said target. Because if you like, okay, for instance, the school shootings and all this stuff, half of what's going on, it's never us. It's never us. We're not the ones with the ARs and AK-47s going into schools and shooting them up. Because somehow, some way, hello, my bad.
Nah, it's all good.
Because somehow, some way, it just doesn't register in other people's minds. It just doesn't. Like, just look at every school shooting that's ever happened. Look at every church shooting that's ever happened. It's not us. And yet they will still find a way to make it circle around and say it's gun violence. Let me tell you something. I have a whole safe full of guns. And you know what? As loaded as they may be or unloaded, I've never known a fully loaded gun to be placed on a table and harm anybody. It literally depends on the shooter. With that being said, I think we are to, for one, this is pretty random because I posted this the other day. I think we should stop teaching white antics to black children.
White
I'm gonna say
antics.
this one more time. I believe that we should stop teaching white antics to black children.
Elaborate
What?
further on that, because I want to
Okay.
hear.
For instance, Tommy decides he's going to steal candy and a $10 bill out of his mom's purse. And the mom will be quick to go, Tommy, get in the corner. 10 minutes, time out. Okay, cool. Fine, no problem. Tommy will sit in the corner or stand in the corner, however, and he will decide to plot. Like, now I hate you, mom, and oh, mom, you're such a nuisance in my life. I need to go deal with this. Okay, cool. Now Tommy goes in his dad's locker or wherever his room is, decides to grab a firearm and goes to the school. And everybody that's ever bullied him, made fun of him, he's at their necks. It's a wrap, over with. Now let's use a more logical example. My oldest boy, Mr. Yashar, he decides he is going to take the same amount of candy and the same amount of money from his mother's purse. Anyone who knows me, I'm going to discipline him accordingly. He's not then going to go into my safe and take anything because it's not that he's afraid of me, but he fears, like, am I really willing to deal with the consequences thereof? Because even jail sentences, they are not the same where it comes to white people and black people.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Black people, if let's say, hey, quiet. Black people, they will get a tougher and harsher sentence for the same crime.
For stealing 25-cent gum in 1939.
And it makes no sense to me. Like, imagine how many people are still in jail for weed up to this day. Mind you, in New York, weed is now recreational. And they are still in the pen. As opposed to your white crackheads, your white crack dealers, the meth dealers, the heroin dealers. They'll get a slap on the wrist. They'll get parole. They'll get probation. Stop. And within 6 months, they're free to do exactly what they did prior. Even with somebody a white person that has raped somebody. Oh, he has a chemical imbalance, or he wasn't in his right mind. Something took over him. Just look at him. Just look at him.
He was bullied.
Acting. He's responding differently. But if it comes to us, oh, he meant that.
Yeah, like the Brock kid.
Throw him under the bus, charge him to the fullest extent of the law. Even for me, half the stuff that I went to jail for, I really shouldn't have been in jail for. I'll give you a prime example. There's this church in Queens. It's called St. Gregory, I think some kind of Catholic church. They normally have a fair every year. So I was really heavy into skateboarding. So I found the spray paint can, and it was barely used, but it was very, very badly rusted. So I picked it up, put it in my pocket, onto the fair. On the way to the fair, I'm not going to put their names out, but my two best friends at the time who were skating along with me, they had paint markers and they were tagging certain things on the wall on the way to this fair. I haven't touched the wall. I haven't touched a tag, not nothing. All I did was pick up a spray paint can so later on spray my board with. Okay, fine, no, cool, no problem. I get to the entrance. All three of us did. We get to the entrance. I get stopped by the tallest, blackest cop ever. And he goes, "Do you have a spray paint can in your pocket?" I was like, it's mighty odd how he would know this, but yes, sir, I do. Long story short, I'm the one that got arrested on my 17th birthday. Got arrested, brought to the precinct or whatever. They didn't ask them about nothing. And while I'm in the van, mind you, I see a cop put a gloves on and he's like rubbing the same tag that said person went ahead and did. And he's rubbing it and he's smelling it. Oh yeah, it's fresh. It was him. Only because I had the spray paint can. Mind you, if you look at certain, like the fine point or even a flat point on a marker, you can tell what's spray paint and what's not. But because I was the black one, I'm the one out of all three that got arrested, and they were allowed to enter in no problem. That's a factual story that actually happened to me, and it really sucks because unfortunately, race people say they don't want to play the race card, but race is a part of the issue. It is a part of the issue. You can't run away from that. They have far more everything than we ever did. And honestly, a place that was built and funded on racism, do you honestly think that's going to go away? There's a law in the South right now. They are bringing back Jim Crow laws.
Yes, I heard of that a couple of weeks ago. Yes.
There's this dude that was on a panel talking about can we bring back lynching by a tree?
Jesus Christ.
Bro, with the smile on his face, like he just knew he was finna have fun all over again. And no one decided to take a look at that whatsoever. But let us do the same thing that they ever. You know what? I promise you, you can tell the black community is all about love at the end of the day. Because as much as we really should be craving revenge, we don't.
Right.
We really don't. As many guns as we have, not once have we ever decided, no, we're going to fight the police for our brother. We're quick to turn it on ourselves. Oh, he stepped on my sneakers. Boom, boom, shot, dead. Oh, he got ketchup on my white tee. Boom, boom, shot, dead. But when the opposer kills your daughter, kills your son in front of you, kicking you while you're down, while you're handcuffed, not one of us decide, you know what? We need to stop this. And I find that so crazy because it's like you can be the biggest gangster in the world, but somehow once you see that badge, everybody they run and hide like roaches when you turn the light on. So my question is, how are we as a black community supposed to maneuver and raise our children to be fair when it's never going to be reciprocated toward us anyway? There's a lot of white people in the world who stand with us, which is cool. But I guarantee you, if they were given a choice to save their family over us, bro, they're not going to risk their lives for us at all.
Of course not.
No one wants to be stuck with the name nigga lover at all. It's a terrible title. So that's my question. If there's no reciprocation, how are we to teach our kids because this is part of the reason why I decided I want to homeschool my children,
Hmm.
especially with the new curriculum that they're teaching now. They're not teaching men to stay with women. They're not teaching men how to be the strong person because immediately it'll be deemed as toxic masculinity as they grow up. So it's like you can't teach a child too much. You can't teach a child any less because it'd be dumb. There's so many questions I have, and I already know the answer. It's and in this time, in this era, in this realm that we're in right now, it's really important to stand on faith. Because there'll be times where I'll be like, yo, where is God in all this?
Hmm.
Like another black child just got hung, another black child just got shot. This person was only 12. What are you doing? Like, seriously, what are you doing? Well, he was jogging in the wrong side of town. Are you kidding me?
And then
Are
they
you
thought the
kidding
shooting
me?
was justified, and they all ended up going to jail anyway.
So when I say we need to stop teaching white antics, what works for them doesn't necessarily always work for us.
Right.
We discipline our children not for them to fear us, but it's just, it makes them think twice. As opposed to, they're gonna tell me to do is, go to the corner. I can stand in the corner and be on my phone. I can stand in the corner and just, play with anybody who walks by. Now let me go in the corner, or in the West Indian fashion, let me kneel on some tiles on some white rice in the middle of the kitchen. And
Hmm.
for every person who walks up and down, it's a lash.
Right.
So, I honestly feel, and this is not to be racist toward nobody, but what works for little Tommy is not gonna work for Tajay or work for Yashar or work for anybody. It never did, and it never will. I understand you can't beat your children for everything. That's all fine and dandy. I do believe in, hey, let's not do that. Hey, don't play with that. But in history, it has been shown that the lack of beating a black child normally leads to a very bad, misbehaved child.
Hmm.
This is just me. This is not even an opinion at this point. There are statistics that show when you beat your children, the rate of them going to jail will definitely decrease. When it comes to a white child, and when it comes to, okay, like if you try to beat a white child, that doesn't necessarily work for them
Hmm.
either. It's weird. They think more retaliation. A black child would think, okay, that's the consequence. Let me not do that no more.
Right.
Cause daddy don't play or mommy don't play. Like, I beat my child a few times. Hey, stop messing with the door. Leave the door alone. And he still do it from time to time. But at the end of the day, I just gotta give him that look, and he'll look like,
Right. To know that you're not playing around.
you know what I'm saying? So what's for them is for them, but we really need to focus on us.
Right. What we have to remember is that white parents and black parents condition their children differently. So whereas a white parent has no problem with their child cursing them out and still dealing with the kid at the end of the day, and a black child doing that and it's actually a different reaction, just goes to show you we have more care and concern about our children because it's like if I let you do something in here, you're gonna do it outside. But if
Correct.
I discipline you now, you're gonna know, like, listen, not only do you represent yourself, you represent me, your mother, your father. Like, don't go out here and embarrass me. I don't want to get a call that you've been involved in this. That's the type of parenting that really needs to come back. And funny thing, I grew up, in a time where, we played with super soakers and little water guns and stuff like that, and we didn't think anything of it. But I also believe that, at 6, 7, 8 years old, you're sheltered. You don't know that type of world. And even when I was in junior high and high school, um, necessarily like I wouldn't say I had a fear of police or anything like that, but I stayed inside the house. I came home from school. So I was sheltered. I didn't really understand how you say what was going on, and that's not to say that I was ignorant of the world. It's just me. I wasn't outside like that. If I was a kid that was outside and getting in trouble, then maybe I would see more of the world at that time, and then reality hits you. But in recent years, even in my early adulthood, looking at everything that's happened with Trayvon Martin, seeing what happened with Oscar Grant, and all these different people. I mean, the first thing I saw that I remember as a kid in fourth grade, Amadou Diallo. This man went inside of his pocket. That's another thing. You make one sharp move, you're a threat, and they're shooting you. That's it. In the Amadou Diallo case, none of those officers got charged. And I remember watching that on Eyewitness News. Then I remember the situation with Abner Louima. I think he came from Haiti, and these cops sodomized him with a broomstick or a plunger. I remember seeing that as a kid, and it's crazy because it's like, yo, as a child, you think, okay, cops are supposed to be the people that you go to protect you, to keep you safe. But nobody tells you that when you're black, you're a threat to a cop. And it doesn't matter what age you are. You could be 10, 12, 15, 18, 21, 22, 35. You could just be coming out of the train station or just anywhere. It'll be 1, 2 in the morning and someone's going to stop you. I'm going to tell you a quick story and then I want Caroline to chime in. I remember one night I was coming home from a studio session in Brooklyn, right? Way before I got to the train station, this unmarked car pulls up on us, right? Now the day before, my friend had gotten stopped by the police. It was a random search because he had some weed on him, right? So you gotta understand, we're walking at night, it's about 4 or 5 of us, right? And cop is asking me, yo, what's your birthday? He's like, yo, you don't know your birthday? And then the other cop, and it was a Chinese cop, I remember. Then the white cop was like, yo, you remember what we said would happen if we caught you with something again, right? So that situation made me pissed off, but it also showed me that at randomly at any time, somebody could just come up and search you. It doesn't matter what it is, it doesn't matter what time of the night. If they look at your skin and they feel like you're a threat, they will come up and do whatever. And the sad thing is that crimes are done by everybody, but when it's done by a black person, it seems like everybody else is a target. All of a sudden, you can't trust all black men or all black women. Like, what business does a cop have slamming a 15-year-old child on the floor? You know, like, I understand children get out of control, things happen, but you're not supposed to do that. And if cops want to send a different type of message to black children or black people, you got to stop with these random searches. You got to stop attacking everybody that you see. Not everyone is a threat. If you're standing on a corner or you're just coming out of a store, that's no reason for somebody to be like, yo, like, let me get your ID. Where are you going? Like, I'm minding my business, standing right here, about to go leave, and you're coming up and harassing me. So I shouldn't have to pay for someone else's mistake. But nevertheless, once people see my skin color, it's on. And that's the messed up part about it. But I want Caroline to chime in.
I got a question for Ryan, for Trini though. Why is it that we have to raise our black children different? When all the kids born, they come out the same.
Well, I think we have to raise our children different because if you looked over the years, when we tried to use their tactics and we tried to be as kind as possible, when we tried to not beat them but just talk to them, we still end up dead. And even though, like in the early 90s and 2000s, yeah, we were still getting killed in a sense, but it wasn't literally it wasn't as bad. It wasn't more cops killing us. It was more okay, and another black on black crime in Brooklyn at a party or something like that. Not that that makes it any better, but I've noticed no matter how hard you try to use the tools and use the advice that these people give you, it will never matter. Like, I forgot the name of that dude who was a literally who was about to go to college, and he was straight A student. He was just trying to go to Harvard or whatever top notch school, and they killed homie for no reason. And mind you, they killed the wrong person, but just for the sake that he was black is why he fit the description. It's always shoot us first, ask questions later. And mind you, these guys typically, because of some government document that protects them as a brotherhood or a sorority, if you will, they always end up getting off scotch free. And let's say they do get fired. What people don't know is they're still able to be a police officer in a different county or a different state. Killing a black person is like a trophy. Oh, you killed how many? Oh, wow. Come on in. Join the brotherhood. And all this other nonsense. Like, bro, like, okay. I solely remember when the black family started to crumble. And that was when, you know, this was way back in like 60s and 70s to where, oh well, shoot, look at this girl. She done made it to America and her hair looks nice and she's in a magazine and she don't need no man. She's making it by herself and yada 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 blase skibble. And you see how these black women they try to get the permanent hair, damaging themselves. They just try to be like them. It's always trying to be like them, and they fail. They don't get the job they want. They don't get paid as like Viola Davis, prime example. She is an outstanding actor and still
Me.
gets paid millions less. Like, we're not even talking about the WNBA right now. We're literally just talking about an individual who is her, Angela Bassett, and all these wonderful black women who are actors. And they don't get the Grammys. They don't get the awards. They don't get squat because these white people are running the show. You can be the best actor in the world, and they'll still look at you like, eh, it was all right, but I think you need to fix this and your delivery and this and that. And you're just like, bro, what? It never works out in our favor. Okay. They even tell us, go build your own wealth. Go start a place of your own. Just do your own thing. And they decide they're going to bomb us. They dropped a whole bomb in a whole community of people who was bringing in income and doing well for themselves as a black people, as a unit, as a congregation. They hate to see black people thrive. That's the issue. And until that hate goes away, it's never going to stop. So you can try to use white antics all you want. Try to send them to the best neighborhoods as you want. You're not wanted there. Send them to the best schools. You're not wanted there. Somebody's going to play a prank on you and call the cops just because they think it's funny and someone ends up dead. You can send them to the whitest of the whites and they will treat you like an outcast.
Hello. Oh,
Sorry. So yeah. So what works for them does not work for us because in actuality, what do you I'm gonna use, I guess you can call this funny. You could tell white people to not put raisins in their potato salad doesn't mean they gonna not do it. They're gonna do what they do because quote unquote culturistically that's how they know their potato salad to be made. Washing chicken, that's another thing. Listen, let them do what they do. It doesn't work for us. It just don't. That's why our food tastes better. That's why technically black people don't get sick like that. the proof is in the pudding. They don't beat their children. This is what their children do. We beat our kids. This is what we do. That's it. I mean, I don't know what else to really say to make it as profound. Like, as a matter of fact, no. I can say something on this. Now, we don't like dirty feet in our houses at all. As soon as you come from playing outside, hey, go in the shower. I know plenty of white folk who literally they travel long distances barefoot, and they'll walk in the house, feet all over the couch, let their dogs lick them all in their mouth.
It does happen. I'm sorry.
That happens here in Ohio. As we speak, there's a 12 to 17-year-old walking around barefoot talking about, what? I don't feel nothing. They walking on rocks. It's like their feet build a tolerance for the ground. I don't care how hot that asphalt is. They're not feeling nothing. They're still going to let their dog eat a carrot out their mouth. And, bro, what? Let us do something like that. What? This is your cup. This is your cup with your name on it. This is your cup. Yours. You ain't touching another cup in this house.
Right.
So, yeah, that's just a prime example. They live how they live. We live how we live. There's nothing else to be said. Trying to be like the apostle never works. It just don't.
Right. Yo, you know what? I'm glad that you mentioned something about police brutality and that how sometimes they won't fire certain police officers. They won't fire certain police officers. They'll just move them to a certain district. You know, and it's crazy to think somebody could do something damaging and they'll be put on paid leave. And I'm like, but why? They need to be removed fully. You know? And it's like it almost comes to a point where we're asking, who's gonna pay for this crime? You know? I remember, I don't know if you guys ever heard of this, but in 1985 in Philadelphia, there were a bunch of people, you know what I mean? They weren't Rastafarians, but they grew their hair naturally, you know, Nazi locks and all that. And the police, and they were a community, right? I think their name was called Move or something. And the police dropped bombs on all of those houses in Philadelphia, killing women, children, men, and nobody in that police department in Philadelphia was held responsible for that. And we're talking about black people that were killed, black people that weren't doing anything wrong. And they all got bombed, killed, shotguns, whatever it is, you name it. Biggest massacre in 1985. Look it up. The name of the group was called Move.
That's the joint I was talking about.
A word?
That's the joint I was talking about. They just dropped bombs on the whole community of people who did nothing to nobody. They just wanted to live in peace. And it pisses white people off to live in peace. Oh my God. The sight of happiness when it comes from us. They can't stand it. It irritates their soul.
Right.
They can't stand it. They can't stand it. So why join them when there's going to be hate anyway? Of course, there's going to be that, that couple exceptions to the rule to where, we stand with black folk and I love them. I love them all. But there's got to come a time to where, you just got to wake up and smell the coffee. We keep catering to these people's needs. And like the more we tell us, stop killing us, they keep killing us. Just for the sake of saying, hey, Black Lives Matter. They're just like, nah, we can't agree, bro. We just can't agree. What more is there to say? Seriously, what more is there to say? Every time you turn on that television, at least every 2 weeks, somebody's dying by policemen. Someone's dying because some person decided to play a prank on a school campus. Now there's like 3 people being charged because of a false narrative. Like, what? How?
Hold on. There's one thing I want to bring up. You guys remember there was a massacre a couple of weeks ago at, I believe it was a high school. Was it a high school or a college?
It was a college.
It was a college. Okay. It was a.
We have a lot of those, so you'd have to differentiate.
All right. Well, you're right. This one was a female that was trying to become male, like she was transgender.
No, that's Nashville. That was Nashville at the elementary school.
Yeah, that situation to me, I'm like, yo, if you want to harm somebody, harm yourself. Don't go and harm a whole bunch of people. Like, and what Trini said is so true. Like, yo, all of these massacres. When's the last time you heard of a black person shooting up a school or a college? We saw what happened with Virginia Tech. We seen what's happened with all of these. Like, we saw the situation that happened with the elementary school last year. I forgot where the situation happened, but a whole bunch of kids got killed, and then they ended up closing the school altogether. It's not us. Let me tell you something. I personally believe we as black people, we do not have that much vitriol in our hearts to go and shoot up a school full of kids, or shoot up a school or college full of people, or to just walk into church like Dylan Roof and unalive somebody. Let me tell you something. I'm not saying that our brothers and sisters haven't killed. I'm not saying that, but something of that magnitude to the point where it's on television, I've never seen that. Beside the DC sniper joint, but as far as it goes to schools and colleges and churches, I've never seen a black person ever be on the news causing these massacres. Yet,
bro, we've never once tried to get revenge on half the crap that happened to us. We've never decided.
You know what? When I came home and I told my dad that there was this boy at school bothering me. Y'all know my dad. Okay, so I feel like this gonna make y'all laugh.
Bucky.
But he was like, Caroline, the next time they bother you, kick him in the balls.
He said,
my mom tried to tell my dad, like, don't tell her that. My dad said, no, do it. So when daddy says something, you listen.
Listen to me, Caroline.
So enough, and you know what? This is like 7th grade when ACGs first came out. Before they put the bubble on the bottom. Guess who ain't never bothered me again?
He probably had to go to the nurse for swelling.
When nobody shooting up no school, you bother me, I'm finna hit you upside the head with my binder.
Boom. Boom.
But with no guns, that my husband and I had a conversation one time, and it wasn't something that I had even considered or thought about, because in my head it was like the child do something like this to this capacity, magnitude, I should say, and they should get punished. And he was saying, under the premise of there's some thought processes out there, schools of thought that believe that if a child under the age of 18 commits or is engaged in a school shooting, the parent should be penalized. And my thought process was, you put something like that into law. What if something happens to a school student or to school period by the hands of a black student? Now the parent gets penalized. And my husband was trying to explain to me that, like y'all was just saying, that it's never us. So that will make, these white parents think different. Because if you run in your house how you supposed to, how you don't know that your kid got all these guns in your basement?
True.
Like, what are you doing as a parent where you don't know what's up? Did you just, hands off once they became old enough for school and just now it's the school's problem to raise your child? I don't know. But overall, for me, I think parenting black children in a white world, that is the most challenging part. Or parenting in America, because parenting in America compared to parenting in other countries is completely different.
That's a fact.
How can you people talk about gentle parenting and how come it's never given to apply to our children? But think of this. You can gentle parent when you have the resources. When you're not worried about bills, when the next bill come across. These rich folk weren't worried about the price of eggs because they probably don't even buy their eggs. They probably get it from the farm. They got it like that. They weren't worried about that. People got to decide whether to go to work or pay for daycare, go to an appointment, call in sick. It's a lot. I got my hair done right before I came on here, and my stylist was talking about people having to decide. Like we were talking about how minimum wage, no one should have to choose between next meal and rent, next meal and electricity. Mm. Like minimum wage should at least provide you a stable place to live. And I'm out here in Illinois. She was suddenly telling me she's never been to New York, blah, blah. So she said, Caroline, how much does an apartment cost in New York? Now, due to me trying to help somebody find an apartment, I kind of had I said, there's certain places that's trying to charge you like $3,000 to $3,500 for a one-bedroom closet apartment. And the look on her face was, what? So imagine being a parent. I feel like at minimum wage or even that, it should be enough, but it's not. People in two-parent homes struggling. Two-parent incomes. Two-income households struggling. Because the cost of everything going up, but the income is not. So imagine trying to parent your child through that. You under stress. You want to be that parent to serve the all organic, to give your babies the applesauce pouches. You want to be that parent, but you just don't have the energy. You want to be healthy and vibrant, but you just don't. You want to do the vacations. You know that taking trips with the family creates memories, helps alleviate stress, exposes your children to different things. You tired. You're not getting enough days off at work. You don't. My husband and I were interested in buying a home, and we reached out to the bank, and the lady was telling us what the potential down payment could be. And what she said to us, like, you don't have anybody to gift you $13,000. $13,000.
Who's giving out gifts?
Yeah. No, because these companies are used to white families pulling up with, like, grandma, uncle, auntie just gifting the folk their entire down payment, and now they got the house. So imagine you as a black family got to work from the bottom to the top, and you got these other white folk. And I think that even people, middle class, lower class, white folk are sometimes in a better position than black people in the same spot.
That's a fact.
Privilege is a hell of a something. Imagine, like, you have your children. I'm in a mom group, and they were talking about how things like PTA and new parent meetings and monthly parent meetings, they either didn't know about or they couldn't go to it at whatever time it was planned because it was at a time where they had to be at work. Meanwhile, these other moms have the privilege of just showing up at 7:00 in the morning with a coffee to be in the meeting. Mm. So with things like that, things I didn't even think about because I don't know. I went to some lady house for daycare, and then I was immediately in school. So it wasn't like I thought about, My sister went to Jamaica school for daycare up until she was like in first grade. So that's not something I had to think about. But as an adult, and you listen to the stories of other parents, that's why I do think that parents need to collaborate, even if you just have the conversation. Because I think when you isolate people and they're stressed out or whatever, it's easier to break them. But if you have a group of moms and dads who come together, and not just including men in your circle when your child don't have no father and you like they need a male influence, even if they had a male influence, even if their dad isn't around, maybe the dad needs support. They need other men to talk to.
Right. Nobody thinks.
I think if we stress mental health so much and the well-being of the children, but if the parents aren't well,
the kids will never be well. Agreed.
That was bars. If the parent isn't well, how can they parent well? Okay, you know the New York DJ sound. But these aren't things that I think our parents had to talk about, or even knew to talk about. Because as we gain more tools and we gain more experience, I think sometimes we look back on our parents and their experience raising us, and we don't extend the same grace. Our parents, a lot of them, did what they had to do or did what they could do. Like my daddy was born in a house. He wasn't born in no hospital. Grandma came straight from Jamaica to do whatever. They had to figure out life. Well, nobody talking about 5 love languages and hugging your kids more, telling them you love them, and let me raise emotionally responsible children, emotionally available children. Let me keep you alive. Let me pay these bills.
I see, and I think that's probably why we have to, as Black parents, to teach our children to be tough, because it's already tough out there just being Black in the first place. That's the issue. And yeah, I totally agree with the accountability and all that, but it's like, yo, if we teach our kids, oh, just go out and have fun with Billy and Mandy and all these other folk, they typically don't understand how they can low-key get hurt. They can get kidnapped. You really have to be careful out here. And we were always taught to be tough simply because look at what our parents went through. And you know, they can barely make it, struggling in Trinidad or Jamaica. They had to be tough. They legit had to be tough. So I don't know. I think we have a power within us that we really don't know or understand, but the opposer definitely knows. And to keep us stifled and to keep us on the ground, they treat us the way they do. So our self-esteem can just be lowered and lowered some more, all the way to the damn ground. But I think the survival tactic, it's necessary only because if just going to work on a daily basis without being pulled over, that's, to me, that's a W. To not get pulled over, that's a dub. That's just being honest. I'm glad I made it to work and back. Last night I was working security. I'm glad no one got shot. I didn't have to shoot nobody. Everything was all cool and dandy. People came in. I only had to deny one group of 18-year-old individuals, and they took it with a grain of salt, like, oh man, what you gonna play pool? Sorry, dog. Every Friday and Saturday, y'all gotta have ID, and even if you do have ID, 18 and below, I gotta deny. I'm sorry. You're a liability. If anything happens, you're a child. And, you know, they took it and, you know, they left and whatnot. But just to go to work, just to go somewhere and come back, just going to other countries to try to enjoy a vacation is now starting to be a problem. It's always blacks. It's always blacks.
Mexico.
You can't find solitude nowhere because of the stigma that people see in the media about black folk. So you got the Mexicans, oh, negro, no. Like, if you ever look at other nations, they stick with their own. It's very rare to see a Mexican marry somebody outside their race. Typically, they stick with their own. And you'll see them with a fruit stand. You'll see them in New York selling water. They always hustling, doing something, selling something. Black folk, for some reason, they're just this nasty stain that will never go away. It'll never go away. And the more people say, oh, why don't you just start your own business? It's not that easy. Get your LLC. Okay, you could do that, but that is not even that easy. There's so many loopholes. And hello, sir. Always want to be seen. And like, even now, when I look into my child's eyes, it's like, yo, he's so pure, he's so innocent. They don't know the life that they have ahead of them is about to be hella rough. Like, they're just so innocent. He's just looking at me, just smiling right now.
But you gonna raise and love your children and nurture their innocence, and then the world gonna be like, no.
Exactly. And it's like you can fill them up with all the love, but I know that you see, when it comes to heartbreak doesn't always have to be a relationship. Heartbreak can be where, dag, I did everything right. I'm trying to hit my goal. I'm trying to hit this. I'm trying to hit that. And your employer will be like, no, you can't get this promotion. No, I won't give you 300 mil for your company. No, you can't own your own masters. No, I'll put you in a 360 deal and leave you with nothing after it's all said and done. And we own your name. And we own the rights to your music. It's always us. We still have a foot on our necks. And I think we're now seeing, because of social media, it's not just in one small town. It's not just in Queens. It ain't just in New York, bro. It's everywhere. There's racism everywhere. People just don't like niggas. Period.
And it seems like there's nothing you could do to escape it. It's just it's fascinating. I like the fact that you brought up the whole 360 deal, right? Because someone said something pertaining to music. I'm gonna make two different points. You know, it's better for you to make your music, own your stuff. If you want to do a distribution deal, they distribute your music, that's fine. But to sign to a label, I feel like it's a form of modern day slavery because at the end of the day, if they give you money, you got to pay back that loan. And there's no guarantee that your album might make it to the top. You might get signed and have to do 10 albums for the label, but then you got to recoup costs. They're paying for you to go to the studio, they're paying for the mixing and mastering. Oh, you want to go fly here? We're paying for that. Oh, you're doing a business dinner? That's an expense. We're paying for that. At the end of the day, it's better to have your stuff. And then another thing with the music industry, especially when it comes to black artists, they profit off of our pain. A lot of these rappers that have died, Juice World, Extension, and a lot of these other guys, all of their music perpetuates a certain stereotype, right? And they all ended up dying behind it. And these record companies will still continue to make music off of that because why they don't care? They know that the next person is going to come up and say the exact
Same
same
thing.
thing. And the sad part of it is that when are we as people going to invest common sense and knowledge? Because it's like, for example, I saw a female rapper. I'm not going to mention her name, but she's getting a lot of traction in New York City. She's in her early 20s. And she just shot, I think this is like her second music video, and everybody has on the color red. And you already know what the
What it signifies.
yeah, what the insinuation is, right? A lot of these rappers out here are getting what's called RICO charges. You go on Vlad TV, you're getting a RICO charge. Like, if you're the type, like, it even happens here in Queens. There are a set of gangs that have been rapping about killing people, and this happens in general everywhere. And they rap about it in their songs. You're going to get caught with a case. Don't you know that you are setting yourself up for demise? So my thing is that while you're doing music, make sure you own your stuff, but also at the same time, make sure that the content that you're pushing is not going to get you in trouble. And it's also
Here's the
not
thing,
going.
though. It's crazy you say that because there's no profit. Just like there's no profit in a cure in the hospital, there is no profit in a righteous black dude trying to clean up the streets because there's going to be less shootings. There's going to be less everything. And if these people can't make money off of us, they're not going to let that happen. They're not going to let that happen. There's a reason why people, they make money and they leave the hood. Because oftentimes we saw it happen to Nipsey Hussle. We see it happen to people who always go back to their hood and try to do something in their community, and they end up getting killed for it. It's
Right.
always envy. Pride always cometh before the fall. Your best friend, your homeboy, you give him a piece of your change after you done made it. You made 5 mil. Okay, cool. You give him 250 mil. And
Right.
it's like they always crave and want more. So now they end up killing somebody, and then that person goes ahead and makes some music video or makes whatever about it. It killing and murder sells. Unfortunately, it sells.
Right.
There's no more MC Lights. There's no more Queen Latifahs of the world. And this is
Yeah.
why I respect Jay-Z so much, because he gave you, in spite of the blueprint of exactly what he was going to do,
Yeah.
what he said he was going to do, and he did that joint. Now he's sitting in rooms and offices, making deals and doing things behind closed doors that people will never know.
Right.
And so, there's no profit in why can't we be friends? There's no profit in stop killing each other. Pull your
Right.
pants up type. You know what I mean? Because if people pull their pants up and they just accordingly, now cops can't target nobody. Not
Right.
as often.
Right.
See what I'm saying? So it's it's a lose-lose scenario. But I feel like, again, I wish we could say, hey, we gotta unite at some point. But the way things are looking out right now, there's no unity. It's it's women against men, blacks against blacks.
Mm.
Families are crumbling at an all-time low. There's no togetherness no more. There's no reciprocation. There's no communication. There's no love. It's just twerking, OnlyFans,
Mm.
and oh my God, I guess physical touch is my love language, so it's always sex, sex, sex. But I guarantee you, take sex away, and there's nothing to be discussed between either party. It's like, hey, so how about them Yankees type ish? You know what I mean? But for real.
But
So there's no profit in cleanup.
right.
There's none.
I want to say one more thing, and then I'm gonna let Caroline take the floor. As much as black parents try to push a narrative of, I guess, how do I put this? Of black excellence upon their children and making sure, like, know how to deal with the police accordingly and be careful of what you're wearing and the images and all that stuff. As much as you try to talk to your children, at a certain point, they're going to choose to make certain decisions, whether or not you agree with it. And those decisions are either going to allow them to keep their life or lose their life. It's the
True.
same thing with the music. Like, there's a rapper named Little Tecca from Queens, and he ended up getting shot up. After he got shot, a couple of weeks later, he came back and he started doing music. And I'm like, yo, you just got shot. You was just laying up in the hospital. And you rapping again, like, evaluate why that happened to you. You know what I mean? And I don't wish harm on nobody, but I want people to understand that the life that you lead precedes you, right? In life and in death. So the things that you say on wax, only God knows where you came with this. Like, people be listening to a song, be like, yo, oh, that's bars. But it's like, yo, he just talked about catching a body. Like, where is the joy in that? Like, there are certain things that we do within our community that cause self-destruction. And we're looking at it every day. And it's like, yo, and this is nothing new because this has been going on for decades, but it's just now it's gotten to the level where it's like, yo, enough is enough. I'm tired of hearing trap songs almost. It's like the same song every day, right? Like,
The same joint.
and I remember Ebro from Hot 97 was talking about that, like, yo, all y'all sound the same, but it's like, yo, I'm gonna keep it 100. Your radio station, y'all favor that type of stuff.
Facts.
We all know about payola and how it works. Like, you know what I mean? And nobody in New York City, any other radio station cannot tell me, like, it's payola. Come on. We already know how it is. We know how it goes with this whole record thing. Like, yo, I pay you this, you play this record, you give me the. We know how it goes. So at the end of the day, we got to come to some understanding, like, yo, we have got to stop killing ourselves. We talk about police and we talk about all these other issues. We want certain things to stop. We don't want our kids to be afraid when they go out that door. We make sure that we prepare them for every type of scenario. But if we are perpetuating the same stereotypes that we say we are against, how can we rise above? How can our children be safe? And that's all I got to say on that. So I'm gonna let Caroline take the floor.
I feel like we first need to address parenthood, and then we can add on the additional adjective of being black. You find out y'all pregnant, the baby come. You take the baby home. It's you, mom, him, dad, and the baby. All three y'all looking at each other like, okay, what now? There's no rule book. There's no play-by-play. It's like y'all trying to figure it out. From strollers to formula to everything else. Every milestone, there's always something else to figure out. Every day is always something. And you just, I think, really got to keep God in everything because it's hard. Parenting is hard, period. But being a parent stretches you. It don't just stretch your finances. These kids cost money. Okay, Gabriel.
Of course.
Right there. You out here spending uncle money. Here, a little candy, you know. Here, a little pencil. Your birthday, here $5. They not your kids. They get excited about that little couple dollars. You feel me?
Not to mention groceries every week. And
okay, that's what I'm saying. They cost some money. But when you play Uncle Gabe, it's different. Yeah. But they shut your sleep. They shut your capacity to love. Yeah. Right? Because your whole life is just being you. Mm-hmm. I'm cool. I love myself. I'm awesome.
Right.
You marry somebody. That's an additional stretch. That's another arm of love you got to look at. But when you have a child, your reaction to that child, you hear mom downstairs with his dad.
He's going in, yo.
I don't know what they're doing, but they probably having fun. But you lose sleep. You praying more. You're supposed to operate different. My husband told me the other day, he said, I want my son to be better than I was. Not just in material things, but as an overall holistic person. You want your child to be better. Do better. You know? For me, I'm looking at the things that I learned as a growing up and the things I don't want to pass on to my children. That's why another step for me, although I've been a parent for almost a year, there are still things I need to unlearn, hurts I need to heal, things that I need to address. And having a child, getting married, I know this is the parenthood show, but marriage, death, birth, any major change in your life, especially parenting, will expose the areas in your life that you thought you had gotten rid of or healed or covered, whatever. And then parenting with another individual, co-parenting, even when y'all together, y'all co-parenting. You realize how different the ideas are about parenting. You got to partner with that person, work together. You have to value their opinion just as you want them to value yours. And then it's a whole nother area to compromise in. So if you can't compromise and partner in a relationship, that's going to show immediately when you have a baby. Because there's always something to do, doctor's appointments. And as the child gets older, there's more to do, more to consider. Constantly talking. As a young person, you're not trying to hear nobody talk about poop.
Yeah.
You become a parent, you talk about what color it is, what texture, how many times did it happen. The other day, my son had a bowel movement. My husband turned to me and he was like, you fed him XYZ? Sure did.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all, real quick, I got to bounce because I definitely got to be security at the door by 10 o'clock. I got to get ready and drop these kids off. I love y'all.
You said by 10 o'clock, sir.
Hey, the venue is only 3 minutes away from me, so I ain't got to worry about that.
I'm about to say, I know how to say something.
I got to bounce. Love y'all.
It's been real. It's been real, Trini.
Pleasure,
And
man.
let me know the next podcast. You already know what time it is.
I got you, bro.
My final thoughts will definitely be: listen, when it comes to being black, you don't choose to be it; you be it. So, with that being said, accountability. Understand that the black family is power, and raise your children how you want to see your community be. That's all I gotta say. I'm out.
Peace, brother. Love you.
Peace.
You done learned a whole lot tonight, Mr. IMC.
Oh, of course, yes, a whole lot. So go ahead and continue. Yo, this is crazy. It's just us two now. But go ahead.
I mean, what we go from 8 to 10, right?
Yeah, but we gonna stretch it to 10:30 because we had to start late.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nothing. When I was pregnant, people kept asking me if I was ready to become a mom. No. Because my husband and I, we were foster parents. We lived and worked with children, raising other people's children. But having your own and the baby don't go home to somebody else's house, tag you in. Who washing bottles? Laundry. What kind of laundry detergent? What his hair look like? What his outfit's clothes? It's a lot of busy work. But I would say it's rewarding. But having somebody to care about and worry about, is this doctor going to treat him right? Are they going to listen to our concerns? You find a babysitter or a daycare if that's needed. Are they going to do right by my children? I don't want my baby to be in the news. I want my baby to look how I dropped him off when I pick him back up.
Exactly.
That's one reason why I've heard some people say they don't want to have children. It's something else to worry about. They don't want to deal with that. And I think that's perfectly okay. But I don't think people fully prepare you or discuss life after a baby. But parenthood looks different for everybody. But I think even me still having the ability to adjust and adapt, learn, listen, discuss, partner, compromise. It is a whole bunch of skills that you need to be a parent. And if you don't have them, it's going to make parenting a little bit more challenging than it needs to be. But you know what? With all, like the Bible says, because I believe in it, all things through Christ who strengthens me. God will supply all your needs. And then one of my favorite verses, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean out on your own understanding, and he shall direct your path. So I think I butchered that verse all the way up. But that's what I meant. Allowing God to direct your path,
right,
to guide you. Pray over your children. Because there are things that you as a parent may not be able to see that God can protect your children from. Or a moment you as the parent need the most guidance. The Lord can provide the guidance or provide the resources for you to get that guidance. We don't have to go through this alone. You know, we can talk about how parenting is, how we feel on the journey, but you don't have to do it alone. There's help. And if you believe in God, trust him with your children. Trust him with your journey. Trust him not just with your strengths and your wins, with your weaknesses as well. Because God's not out here to, make you look bad or to tarnish your reputation. He just wants to help. I don't know. It's parenting look different for everybody, but everybody, like we was talking earlier when Ryan was still on here, everybody needs that village, that support. Somebody even to tell them that even on the days that you don't think you're doing it, you're doing great.
Exactly, because there's times where you probably feel like, yo, I'm not doing it right. This happened, that happened. Like I remember as a kid, I want to say my parents had a village because, I had my uncles, my aunts, like so. My aunt was always an emergency contact, from like elementary school on the little blue cards. I don't even know if they even make those blue cards anymore. But we always had a village growing up, even on my old block where I lived. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure if I acted out of line, one of those people would go to my parents and be like, yo, Gabriel was, wilding out or whatever. But you had mentioned something about you said something about a doctor, right? And I want to touch on that because oftentimes, especially when it comes to black children or black women in general, right? You could go to a doctor and tell them something is wrong with you. And if it's a white doctor, 9 times out of 10, they will not take you seriously. You'll have to see at least 3 or 4 specialists before you finally get a person that understands what you're talking about, you know? And we've seen this situation when it comes to black women in the ER, you know, getting ready to have a baby, and then all of a sudden something happens, they're losing blood, oxygen. I remember there was a story that happened to uh I believe it was Judge Hatchett's daughter-in-law, and she died because of the negligence of the doctors because they didn't take it seriously. Like no one is telling the family what's going on. She's losing blood, she's losing oxygen, you know. And the reason why I bring that up is because it's a very prevalent issue, and that's why now more black women are opting to have doulas and have home births because they want someone that's going to understand them and their needs, right? Because if they are in the hospital, there's a chance likely that there will be a risk that there will be a doctor or a nurse that will not take them seriously. And I've heard so many of those stories um online and in the news, and it's sad because it's like how many black couples are going to have to lose someone before someone finally understands like, yo, she's in pain or he's in pain, you know? But I want to know your thoughts on that.
There's this history of thought that black women don't feel pain.
Mm.
So a lot of the history of gynecology procedures were done on black women without anesthesia. Because I don't know where this school of thought came from, but that's what it was believed. And on top of that, that is why some black men don't trust doctors. Because when you look at the what's that, the Tuskegee experiment, where they gave all of them syphilis,
Yes,
and left it untreated, they took it to their partners, left them sterile, all kind of things. As far as a black woman, being a black woman going into labor, I knew that I had my husband and then my mom was there as well. And my husband was a great advocate. Paid attention, asked questions, asked how I was feeling. My mom was asking how I was doing, etc. Not everybody has that. And you know what the crazy part is? You can have all the support in the world if the doctors and them not doing what they're supposed to. It's a whole process.
right.
Like being a cesarean mom, I just wanted to make it home. Make sure that you put everything back in its proper place. Because we fought to get this baby here. I'm trying to be alive to work with my husband to raise him.
Right.
When I read those, when you listen, when you talk about how we're one of the most developed countries in the world, but our mortality rate for pregnant women who are black is crazy, low, or high. One of them. Where they dying too much. That's crazy.
Right. I totally agree.
It's good. I don't think that women should be placed in a position through fear to return to more traditional methods of labor and delivery. I think that if a woman has previously had children or this is her first baby, she should feel comfortable going to the hospital to have her baby. Let insurance cover it, because insurance may or may not cover a doula, midwife, or a birthing center. Some do. They may cover a portion of it. Some may not cover it at all. So having to pay that money up front may be more expensive than being able to deliver, covered by insurance, and then whatever is left, you cover. But I think it shouldn't be done out of fear, though, because fear manifests itself in completely different ways, especially when you're laboring to have a baby. Right. If you're somebody who's like, you know what, I want to be whole with the earth and holistic and just all natural, then that should be the motivation behind you wanting to either labor at home and deliver at home, or to labor and have a birthing center delivery.
Right.
Versus I'm unheard at the hospital as a Black woman and I'm afraid to die. Oh, there go my brother. That's just my thought, you know, because you have Black women bringing in their mom, dad, spouse, partner, whoever, plus a doula, plus a midwife, because doula and midwife have different roles, but they people spending money and bringing them to the hospital too.
Right.
Just so they can make sure that they go home. And imagine that in societies where you had a midwife and a group of women, and they allowed the pregnant mother to labor and deliver, and they took care of her, nurtured her, fed her, gave her drinks, and she was able to bring the baby earthside. Lived. It wasn't until like white people started putting their hands on people and not washing it. Because ancient societies and native cultures knew about germs and all of that, because they one with the earth, they medicinal, they have herbs, they boiling things, they doing all kind of whatever. It's colonialism has done a true work in our society. But again, to that point, I'd rather them be able to make that decision based on how they feel, rather than being afraid they might die. That's scary. You want to be a mom, you want to experience that with your partner, but you're like, I do everything I can do, and I might die. Now, if you're told it's high risk, it's this your first baby or this your second or third, and you have health issues, pre-existing health issues, then that fear is reasonable. But even in that circumstance, you should have a team, a medical team, who is ready, willing, and able, and willing to do everything they can to make sure that you and baby are okay. Things are pre-existing. I'm talking about like asthma, type 1 diabetes. When a mom don't eat or drink or have, you know, the insulin that she needs, things can be life threatening. So that's somebody that needs to pay attention, measure your blood sugar, all that kind of stuff. Pay attention. If we're on certain medications, we have a blood clotting issue, pain tolerance, we need the epidural, but we don't like needles. Are you going to look me in the face and coach me, ease me into this, or are you just going to treat me like my pain tolerance is high because I'm Black? But then do we care about women's bodies in general and not just Black women? Wow. We care about unborn babies until they get here. Then we don't believe in gun reform. So it's a lot. But as Black women, we shouldn't be making those kind of decisions out of fear. We should be able to be like, you know what? I want to live a holistic lifestyle. I want to have my baby natural. I want to preserve my placenta, all of that kind of stuff. I think that's the best way to go. But until the medical professional changes its views on Black women will constantly have to be like, I want to advocate for myself and do better. Change the tide of things. But if you're not the medical professional, it's kind of hard to do different. Right. Because they monitoring your medication. They moving when they want to. The doctor's doing whatever they want to sometimes. So you just go in there on a hope and a prayer. That's pretty much it. Hope and pray that you go home with your baby, and that baby not going home by itself.
Right, exactly. I remember there was a story about a man, his wife, he and his wife, right? They had 5 babies, right? A couple. And this was a black couple, and the mother ended up passing away, you know. And 5 years later, there was a picture that popped up with the kids, and it was amazing to see all of them, and they were thriving. And and you know what it is? It's one thing when you have to deal with one child after the death of your wife, but to deal with 5 babies all at the same time, they're never gonna know who their mother is, and those men need a support system as well. And the thing with pregnancy, there is always a high risk. Sometimes your doctor will tell you, like, okay, based on pre-existing conditions that you have, you might face a high risk pregnancy. you know there's certain type of information that you're forewarned about, but the game plan that you have originally before you have the child and then the day of, it's like things automatically change. And now the doctor that you had all of a sudden doesn't show up. Now you got to deal with somebody else who doesn't have any idea, who hasn't been there for any of the doctor's visits or anything like that. And something could go terribly wrong. Um,
Right.
and in terms of making choice, if you make a choice out of fear, then you're gonna let that control you, you know, in everything. If we only make choices out of fear, that doesn't help ease our anxiety. It only makes it 10 times worse. you know. At the same time, you should be going in with the understanding that in any situation, things can always go wrong. But in case something does happen, always make sure to have a backup plan no matter what. And being able to have a support system that's there for you when you are in that delivery room helps out a lot, you know. And the other thing is, doctors, whether white or black, have to pay attention to their black patients, especially black women, when they say, this is not right, I'm not feeling this. I remember a couple of weeks ago, I saw a scene from Family Reunion. It's the show on Netflix. And the main character, Coco, after she just finished having her baby, all of a sudden, she went into shock and she had a seizure. And I'm like, yo, this is crazy. And the funny thing about it, matter of fact, the irony was that it was talking about this exact same situation because these doctors were rushing to save her life. Towards the end of the episode, she ended up being fine. But this is not something that you often hear about in scripted television. It's always a news story, but presenting a story like that to the small screen can help people have a better understanding. Like, yes, in the delivery room, sometimes things do not go as planned, you know? And if you're a black woman, it's almost like you feel like, you have to fear because of the stories that you've heard. And that's all I really gotta say on that. You know, I believe the thing that parents worry most about, and I'm getting back to the main topic. You want your child to be healthy. You don't want your child to go through any complications. You want them to be able to love people, but also at the same time, you don't want anybody to invade their space or make them feel uncomfortable. We have to come in with the understanding that not every parent is going to be perfect, but with the knowledge that you have of how your parents raised you, now you are able to implement certain things, but do it 10 times better than your parents did. And also, you mentioned something about giving your parents grace because 9 times out of 10, they didn't know what they were doing. And yes, they made mistakes along the way. Sometimes those mistakes could have damaging effects to the point where um, you might not talk to them on a regular basis. So, and we also have to come up with the understanding that the words that you use or the things that you say can actually scar a child for life, and it may cause them to do certain activities if you speak over your child in a certain way and say like, yo, you're XYZ, you're just like so and so, they might start to believe it and feel like, okay, that's all that I'm ever going to be. My mother's written me off, my father's written me off, everybody's written me off. No one believes in me, you know. But when it comes to our Black children, we have a great responsibility. We don't want them to fear the outside world, but we want them to gain an understanding that when you walk outside, there are going to be people that will not like you. You will be targeted because of the color of your skin. There will be a certain, I'm trying to find the word. It escapes me at the moment. There's going to be a certain connotation that they might have about you. But nevertheless, be guarded, be protected, you know? There was a video the other day that I saw where somebody was loading up a water gun, and after the video, you know, Black guy is like, puts his finger up. Why? Because that's not for us. You can't, let me tell you something. There's a difference between a white kid going out in public and shooting a water gun and a Black child doing it and possibly having the risk of being shot or killed. You know, I remember the situation with Tamir Rice. I mean, it's still damaging, you know? Like, our kids are in danger no matter where they go, you know what I mean? And in terms of firearms, you know, it should be taught that firearms should only be used in situations where you're in danger or trying to protect your family. But it shouldn't be something that's just used loosely, you know? And the other thing that pains me is that we have all these school shootings, but no one wants to regulate these gun laws. They say, like, oh, this is an open carry state. We're going to do whatever we want. But then look at what happens. Look at these shootings. And nobody makes mention of the fact that these are white kids. They let that go. Yet, our children constantly get targeted every day. But you're not going to talk about the white kid that went outside of his house and shot up his school. No, it's easier to push a narrative. Oh, look at this hoodlum. Meanwhile, this kid could have a 4.0 GPA, gotten a high score on his SATs, captain of the football team. He's involved in everything. But because of how he looks, you believe that that gives you the right to say he's going to be a troublemaker. We have to watch out for him, you know. And with the Central Park Five, I remember there was an article where Donald Trump said to put them under the jail or something like that, or they should be executed. And even after he became president and these guys were released from jail, he never apologized for that statement because he meant exactly what he said. He doesn't care about the preservation of Black life, even after it was found out that those young men were not guilty. But this is what we live in. This is the world we live in. Innocent until proven guilty. You know? And you could teach your children to put on the right things. I remember there was a gentleman that was like, you know, my kids wear tennis shoes. They don't wear jeans. They wear suit jackets and sweaters. All of that is good. But that does not mean that when your child steps outside, he or she is not going to be a target. You can look like you go to prep school, be dressed in the nicest suit. Someone is still going to come after you because of the color of your skin or how your hair looks or your earring or whatever, you know? But yeah, black parenting is not an easy job, you know? And I wanted to ask you a question. Do you believe that Black parenting in America differs from Black parenting in, say, the Caribbean, like Trinidad, Jamaica, Guyana? I just want to hear if, some of your thoughts on that.
Oh, definitely. I think in some of those countries, you either don't have the stresses but you can take more control. You may not have all the privileges of being an United States resident.
Right.
But I don't even think life is as hard per se. Or I won't say life is not as hard. You have different struggles. Because talking about grandma, when I was in college when she was alive, I called her for a project and I asked her when was the first time she experienced racism. She had never experienced racism until she moved to America. So yeah, she would have still been living in the countryside in Jamaica, living her life, having to walk to get the taxi to go into town and get food or whatever. But because that's the life she was accustomed to, she was at peace. She came to America, her house next door to somebody. She was living in those attached houses, so they next door to each other.
Gingerbread houses.
Man. Let somebody microwave catch on fire, the whole thing gone. Life drastically different. I was talking to somebody the other day, they were born in Jamaica but moved to Illinois and had their children. I'm pretty sure if they had them same kids in Jamaica, life would have been different. It may not have been as cold, so it wouldn't have been as cold, wouldn't have been no snow. So you could go outside and frolic whenever you want to, gallivant, whatever. So would it be harder? Easier? I think different struggles. So you may be able to focus on something else. Where the cost of living is lower somewhere else. You may not have to work as hard. So you can have the same tools as a millennial American parent, but you may utilize them different or in a different manner. Money and working hard is a big stress on parents.
Of course.
So you move somewhere else where you don't have to do all of that, or you get paid more, or what you're paid is able to cover your bills. That transforms anybody's experience, whether you have children or not. When your income is sufficient to meet your needs, you have less to worry about. It makes you more effective, especially if you're a parent. The Lord knows, He sees, He hears. He sees the injustices happening around us. He gonna make a way. Because what America got going on is not it. But we gonna be all right, Mr. IMC. We gonna be all right. God said He gonna take care of us, and we just gotta believe in that. But some of the things that we experience in living in America, these folk need Jesus.
I totally agree. You know, one of the things that kind of annoys me is when people say like, "Oh, you can't beat your child with a belt. That's abuse." That's not abuse. There's a difference between discipline and you just full on beating your child because that's how you take out your rage. You know? Yeah. But it's like, yo, you have to discipline your child. Like some people be like, "Nah, my child told me they don't like how it feels when I hit them." Well, then maybe you need to change your approach. But that doesn't mean that you don't have to stop disciplining them in the right way. You know what I mean? Oftentimes, there is this perception that gentle parenting is the way, but it's not. You let your child slip through your fingers, you don't know what's going to happen to them.
Right.
You might have the police coming up to your door telling you that your child is dead. You know? Or let's say the times where there's a parent-teacher conference and you can't make it. Forget about work. Go to that parent-teacher conference. See what's going on. Stop expecting these teachers to educate your children. There's only so much that they can do. Teaching first starts at home. Discipline starts at home. Sometimes when I'm out in the street or I'm at work and I see how some of these kids act, I wonder like, yo, what type of discipline are they getting? What's their structure? Or even when I'm at church and I see some of these kids are so sassy, I'm like, yo, in my day, I could never do that. I probably would have gotten pinched for doing some of the things that these kids do. Like kids get away with so much because their parent is so and so and this elder and all that. I don't care about titles. You know what I mean? Children got to realize like, yo, I'm the parent. You are the child. You know, and establish that. You let your child walk all over you, they'll think that it's okay to do anything. You know, and especially living in America, things are so soft these days. You do one little thing, oh, I'm calling the police. Hey, back in the day, if a child said that, parent be like, go ahead, and and let them take me too. You know what I mean? But discipline is key, and in America right now, we say that we are the greatest country, but look at our values. Look at the way that we treat people. We want to talk about liberty and justice for all. There is no liberty and justice for all, not for all people of color. We constantly disrespect immigrants. These are the same individuals that are working hard to make sure that our schools, auditoriums, whatever you want to call it, houses are looking the best. You talk about your jobs being taken. Let me tell you something. There is no shame in being a gardener. There's no shame in painting houses. There's no shame in doing construction. Those are all honorable jobs. It doesn't matter how you make your money. As long as you make your money the honest way, if you can go and take that skill and turn it into a business, that's all that matters, you know? We say a lot of things about people. We talk about this one and that one. You know, we don't want no immigrants here, but immigrants are what make up the culture. We're living in a melting pot. You know, all these Chinese food spots. You got food from Ethiopia. You know, France, Jamaica. You know, Trinidadian. Like it doesn't matter, and we constantly want to trash everybody. But like, yo, the first thing that we need to get on board is like, yo, these kids are out of control. How do we deal with them? You know, and discipline is key. A lot of these kids that are outside past 9 o'clock or past the curfew, whatever it is, a lot of them don't have any structure. A lot of them are just looking for someone to love them. They react, they curse out adults, they do that stuff, but honestly, they just want somebody to love them. They need discipline. They don't know how to get it, so they're crying out. You know, we got 5 minutes left, but I'm gonna let you uh speak your piece, and then after that, we gonna end right there.
I will say that these children are a gift from God, and we got to do everything in our power to rear them up safe and sound, strong citizens who are able to contribute to society and give back. They're gifts, like I said, and we got to make sure we take care of them. They didn't ask to be there, be here. We decided to lay down and make them. So now we got to raise them. Not just taking care of their physical needs, but making sure they are right up here too. That's all I got.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you guys for joining us for the special presentation of the Meeting of the Minds podcast entitled Black Parenting in America. Israel Lamy could not join us tonight. He got caught up in traffic and the upgrade. He's indisposed at the moment, but he is fine. Next month, we will be back. I want to thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Caroline, and also thank you to Trini. And next month, we will be back. Y'all take care. Have a great week. Peace.